Imagine finishing a full day of deep work without once reaching for your phone. That kind of focus isn't a rare talent. It's a dopamine system working exactly the way it was built to. Right now, yours is probably hijacked by sugar, by scrolling, by constant low-grade stimulation. This is the actual mechanism behind why you can't focus, and exactly what to do about it. 2 weeks ago, I put my phone away completely. No social media, no entertainment, no notifications. Day 2 was the hardest. My hand kept reaching for a phone that simply wasn't there anymore. Psychologists have a term for it: reward-seeking behavior. And most of us do it constantly. Around the same time, I cut sugar completely. Day 3 of that experiment was brutal in its own way. Headaches, irritability, fatigue. My brain was protesting the sudden loss of a reliable chemical trigger. Phone, sugar, scrolling. 3 separate habits, one shared underlying cause. All 3 spike the same chemical. And when that chemical gets consistently overused, the cost isn't just cravings. It's your ability to focus at all. You've probably felt all 3 of these at once and assumed it was simply a discipline problem. To understand why it isn't just willpower, we need to go back decades to a psychologist and a box. In the 1950s, psychologists B.F. Skinner and Charles Ferster proved something unsettling about how reward actually works. They placed pigeons inside the box, feeding some on a fixed schedule, others entirely at random. The random group pecked harder, longer, and far more compulsively than the predictable group ever did. Unpredictable reward creates the strongest compulsion of all. That single finding still quietly shapes behavior today. The same variable reward principle now quietly runs your notifications, your likes, your infinite scroll feed. You're not weak-willed. You're responding to a system engineered from a decades-old laboratory discovery. Here's the working theory. Constant stimulation can raise your dopamine ceiling, then gradually lower your baseline. Ordinary things stop feeling interesting. Boredom becomes intolerable. You reach for the next available hit. Sugar is one of the most reliable dopamine triggers available to your brain. It quickly learns to expect it. Remove that trigger, and the system protests: headaches, fatigue, irritability. That's withdrawal, not weakness. Social media adds a second layer on top. Every scroll delivers its reward on a completely unpredictable schedule. That's the exact same pattern from the pigeon box. Random reward, maximum compulsion, every single time. There's a third layer most people miss entirely: social comparison. It can trigger a real stress response. Your nervous system can read more success, more physique, more lifestyle as a small but genuine threat. Threat triggers cortisol. Sustained over time, that cortisol can quietly suppress testosterone too. Sugar spikes dopamine. Scrolling dysregulates it. Comparison adds cortisol directly on top. That combination is the actual trap. None of this is really about willpower. It's 3 overlapping chemical systems, all pulling in the same direction. Here's what this actually costs you. Not just distraction. Your motivation itself starts to erode. Difficulty concentrating. A lowered baseline drive. Things that used to genuinely excite you barely register anymore. Research on scroll behavior links this exact pattern to measurable drops in sustained attention. You're optimizing your training, your food, your sleep, then spending 4 hours inside a cortisol machine. The math simply doesn't work out. You can't outtrain a nervous system stuck in low-grade threat. The afternoon crash you've quietly accepted as normal for years? That's a dopamine debt coming due. And underneath all of it, satisfaction quietly flattens. Nothing feels like quite enough anymore. That's the hidden cost. Not just a distracted afternoon, a quietly rewired reward system underneath it all. Most men never connect these dots. They just assume they've lost their edge somehow. Here's the protocol. 3 levers: a dopamine detox, sugar reduction, and scheduled social media. You don't need 2 full weeks off everything. Start with just 2 hours of zero stimulation. No phone, no entertainment, just the discomfort, and whatever you choose to do with it. For sugar, commit to 21 days. Know in advance that day 3 is the hardest point. The craving curve peaks there, then drops sharply. By week 3, your thinking gets noticeably quieter. For social media, don't rely on willpower alone. Schedule it, 30 minutes, twice a day. Defined windows, defined endpoints. Not continuous access sitting open in your pocket all day. The difference in cortisol load across a full day is measurable, and it compounds every single day. None of these 3 levers require perfection from you. They require consistency and a clear starting point. Track the discomfort in a journal every day. The pattern you notice becomes the map back to focus. Pick just 1 lever this week. Start there. The other 2 tend to follow naturally after. Once you remove the artificial spikes, you have to proactively rebuild your baseline. The most effective behavioral framework for this right now is the dopamine menu. Instead of relying on willpower when you're already exhausted, you pre-categorize healthy friction into starters, mains, sides, and desserts. Starters are quick biological resets. A 1-minute deliberate cold exposure, for example, elevates your baseline dopamine for hours without a devastating crash. Mains are deep, high-effort pursuits. Heavy resistance training, or deep work. They require massive friction up front, but yield stable, lasting reward. Sides are tools to get through the mundane. Pairing a difficult chore with a podcast or music, gently stimulating the brain to maintain momentum. Desserts are the cheap hits. You don't ban them permanently, but you consume them consciously, in strict moderation, and only after the effort is spent. But the ultimate hack is cognitive. Your brain doesn't actually know what a win is. You have to explicitly teach it. When you finish a tough task, pause. Tell yourself you are making progress. That simple, subjective belief physically drips dopamine into your system. The holy grail of neuroscience is learning to attach that chemical release not to the external reward, but to the friction of the effort itself. When the difficulty of the work becomes the trigger for the reward, external motivation becomes irrelevant. You become chemically unstoppable. The discomfort you feel when you remove these things, that's not actually a problem. It's data. It tells you exactly how dependent your focus has quietly become on artificial stimulation. Fix the underlying chemistry, and focus stops being a discipline problem. It becomes the default state. That's what I felt by week 2. Quiet, steady attention, without forcing anything at all. This is the foundation for what comes next in this series. The mind, and how it's actually trained. You can't build real mental discipline on top of a dysregulated dopamine system. This step had to come first. Put the phone down. Cut the sugar. Set the windows. Then watch what your focus quietly becomes.